pattern change that could be affecting the entire country as we head towards early March. This includes an uptick in severe weather, snowstorms, rainstorms, warm air, cold air, dry air for some people, and much more. So we're going to talk about who's going to get what. But before we begin, click the subscribe button below if you like these detailed educational forecast breakdowns, much more detailed than you would see on TV. And we also go much longer range. So let's get right into it now. This is the current pattern right now. This is near and below the jet stream. And you can see all of the activity usually occurs here on the east side of these jet streams, sometimes on the back side, but typically the east side, where there's divergence. Really, the storm system right now is exiting the plains and entering the northeastern United States. But what we're going to focus on is really late March, or late February into early March. This is towards the 28th and the 29th, and you can actually see what we're getting right now is a big ridge as we head towards early March. This is going to increase the temperatures across much of the central United States and also begin to draw up moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. There's troughing to the east and there's troughing to the west. Now, when we get these types of patterns where we see a lot of bends in the jet stream, that means more temperature swings across the country. That means usually stormier activity for some people, not everyone. Stormy activity and temperature swings especially. So will temperatures be above or below average in early March? I think they're going to average out for a lot of the country, but there's going to be days where it's much above and days where it's much below. So we're going to have a lot of temperature swings as we head towards late February into early March. This is the thing we want to keep an eye on. This is around the 3rd of March. There's a little system that comes in. It's actually a pretty powerful looking thing. The jet streak here is 110 miles knots, which is like 120, 130 miles an hour here. In the southwestern United States, you see that divergence. There's going to be the potential for some storm systems to track up out of the plains into the northeastern United States and potentially draw up some moisture with it to possibly set up the stage for severe weather across the plains in the southeast and mid-Atlantic. We'll look over that in a second. We'll also look at the snow potential. As you can see, there's going to be drier air and warmer temperatures in the northwest and southwestern United States, and really no activity here in the Rockies around early March when you're kind of in the center of these low pressures, upper level lows. It's just, typically not a whole lot of lift there. But as we head towards the 3rd and the 4th, you can see this main energy moves into the plains now. Pretty good jet streak, probably a good storm system, but there's another one developing. Here's another wave, another wave. Watch these waves kind of develop here as we head towards the 5th, and boom, right there. That's going to set the stage for another storm system across the east half of the United States. Meanwhile, ridging sets up in the southwest, or it starts to build into the southwest. That will start to gradually increase the temperatures and really kind of boring weather for the southwestern United States. The northwest, might get some activity that kind of rides from the west to the east into the northwestern United States, but that'll be up near the jet stream. So typically a little bit farther northwest. And then after that, it kind of moves to the east. Now, temperature-wise, look at that real quick. Then we'll look at the severe weather and snow potential. This is, not too far from now. This is around late February. Obviously, it's going to be very cold in the East Coast behind that first trough that we were talking about. And it's going to start to warm up. As you can see, the ridging starting to build into the west coast of the United States. Temperatures a few degrees above average in the west, and then a few to maybe as 10 to 15 degrees below average in the east around the 29th. But that warm air starts to move into the central United States as we head towards the 1st of March. Temperatures 5 to 15 degrees above average, maybe even more than that. And then more cold air behind that little trough in the west half of the United States with temperatures a few degrees below average, still warm out into the central and eastern United States. And you can see a nice low right here. So that's going to increase the potential for rain, severe weather for this region right here. Not a whole cold on that first wave, but as we get towards that second wave that moves through, that's where the cold air is going to come in. And you can see it circulating around, starts to warm back up in the southwest, but really cold here. As we head towards the 5th through the 7th in the central and eastern United States, temperatures 5 to 15 degrees below average. So really, to sum it up, temperature swings across all of the country, especially the central U.S., where lots of troughs, ridges are going to circulate. And that also, when you get temperature swings like this, that increases the storm activity, as you're about to see here. But again, not everyone's going to score. It just usually occurs where that lift is near the jet stream. So as you can see, this is around the 29th or so. There's a high in the east, This is going to be very cold here. You can see that 540 line. That's kind of where your coldest air is, the 32-degree line average in the atmosphere. Really see how far south that gets. So even parts of Florida getting really cold, very cold for this time of year as we head towards early March. But that warming starts to occur on the west side, and you can see these isobars. They circulate around like this around a high, so they go clockwise, and you can see that those isobars starting to come out of the south. The winds essentially follow those, and you can see more that's going to start to build moisture in the plains. Not right away, you have to wait for the Gulf to shoot moisture up, but you can see the storm system moving on. There's a first low that moves out, still not a whole lot of moisture with that around the second, but this one coming out here in the southwestern United States could deliver a blow of snow for the Rockies, the southwest, but it'll quiet down for that region as this low moves to the east. But as you can see, when it moves to the east around the 3rd, there's a nice cold front right here, low pressure system, tons of south winds, and this is definitely indicative of storm system or thunderstorms, maybe even severe weather, and then snow on the backside. So this is a storm we're going to have to watch in the central U.S. around the 3rd. As you can see, there's still activity out here in the northwestern United States along the jet stream, but quieting down for the southwest and warming up as well. The east will have to wait a couple days for the storm system to move to the east, but as you can see by the 5th or so, this thing moves to the east. This first wave looks very warm, and with a strong ridge like that, I think the snow is going to be diverted off to the north, if there's much at all, way up into Canada. So I think the main threat with this is going to be just thunderstorms and heavy rain. But there is a second system with much colder areas. You can see that 540 line all the way down to the Gulf almost. Here's a little low right here. If the ingredients come together, we could get a snowstorm that tracks up, the plains, Midwest, and the interior northeastern United States as we head towards the 5th, 6th, and 7th. And you can see that merge together. Yeah, that's a look of a nor'easter, but like I said, these storm systems this year have been really off to the north, and this is really following that same track this winter, where we get snow as we head towards New Brunswick, Quebec, and Ontario in the Great Lakes region, and maybe even bending back to Maine. So this looks no different than anything else this winter, but it is a very powerful storm system we'll have to watch. And again, this is going to change quite a bit, still pretty far out, but the general gist here is an increase in activity for really this region. I would draw it out kind of this region right here, and then also this region right here, an increase in storm activity during this time period. So right here and then right here. So northwestern United States and then southeast 2/3, 3/4 of the United States. Now, is there going to be severe weather? We'll look at that real quick. This is the moisture, and this is the precipitable water. This is something I call the gates of the Gulf method. We'll go back real quick and I'll show you what's going on here. Right now there's a lot of cold air. Now you can see that the Gulf of Mexico, this is the high right here. You can see the wind barbs. So they're out of this. That means they're the north. So north winds. There's a wall here essentially. So the winds are blowing into the Gulf, blowing the moisture away. Now that does not look good for severe weather because you want winds out of the south for severe weather. But as we get towards the 1st, you can see the Gulf starts to open up. The winds are still out of the north here, so it's still closed. So you're not going to get very much moisture here in the Dixie Alley region yet. But you can see this area, it is now open towards Texas, and winds are blowing up. The problem is, here's your low pressure system. The low pressure system's already out into the plains. And typically you want values around 1 inch to 2 inch, between 1 inch and 2 inches here plus of moisture. And you really don't got that unless you're in southwest parts of Texas or south parts of Texas. And so this first low, what this is going to do is it's going to set the stage for what's going to happen here on a second low system that comes out. And so the moisture, you want a couple days of moisture return here in the plains. And we only have about a day here, so not enough moisture for severe weather quite yet. But watch what happens here. There's a second low that comes out around the 3rd. And here it is in southeast Kansas. And you can see that moisture now is 1 inch plus here for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And that would set the stage for severe weather if we have enough instability, at least very heavy rainfall. This will move to the east, and you can see it affects all of the east half of the United States, really all the way up to about Pennsylvania as we head towards the 5th of March. So heavy rain in that region. The question is, will there be severe weather? We'll look at that right now. So definitely an uptick in heavy rain for that region. So we'll look at something called the instability. And as you can see, the instability really amps up here in the plains as we head towards the third. So that first low that moved out around the second or first, not a whole lot of instability with that, not a whole lot of moisture. But as you get towards the third with that second low, you can see a big uptick in instability here across Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas. All you really need for large hail damaging winds and tornadoes is about 750 plus. It's right there in that gray area. And you can see that we got even more than that in Kansas, so maybe 1,000 or more. Obviously, details are going to change. Severe weather changes quite a bit, but we're just signaling the uptick in severe weather for this area around the 3rd through the 5th of March. And as you can see, this moves to the east around the 5th or so. Not a whole lot of instability here in the Dixie Alley region, but sometimes if you get really powerful jets, that can kind of offset it like we could get with this. Again, details will change. It might move from this area and go into the Dixie Alley region. We'll have to watch that. But the potential is there. We'll definitely make more videos if I see that. Now, you can see the instability is non-existent. Even though the precipitable water was really high, there's no instability there for the mid-Atlantic region. So that would just indicate heavy rainfall within that region when you see kind of a look like that. So just heavy rains, some embedded thunderstorms as we head towards the 5th and the 6th in that region. So with all that said, click up here if you want to see this 10-year radar time lapse from 2010 to 2020 I made. Check that out up there. Subscribe if you like daily forecasts up like this. I'm going to be making more videos for actual specific storm systems that move across the United States during this pattern change. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update. Click subscribe below if you like these videos. Share this with a friend, and we'll see you soon.